One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Party and isn't working for the American people. Democrats have said we must address the health care crisis. But Republicans have repeatedly said they won't negotiate to lower the health care costs until the government reopens. So let's find a path to honor both positions. Democrats would like to see an end to this shutdown, and we want to respect Leader Thune's desire not to negotiate on ACA until after the government reopens. Therefore, we'd like to offer a simple proposal that would reopen the government and extend the ACA premium tax credits simultaneously.
No. No. And no again. Man, it's Friday. I'm tired. I really don't want to be dealing with these people and some other kind of people I'm going to talk to you about. I'm completely over it. 38 days or whatever it is, you get to this point and you're right back where you were from the start. This is not going to fly. It is not going to work. You are not going to be able to extend health benefits to people who aren't supposed to be here. Get it through your head. This is a line in the sand, or hopefully it's a line in the sand. Hopefully that's where this thing ends. I just wanted to show you because John Thune immediately came out and said no. In a moment of defiance, John Thune Coffis tells Chuck Schumer no, he will not give in to Chuck's demands on Obamacare to reopen the government. The cracks are forming. After 38 days, the Democrats abandoned their original and equally unserious proposal extending the Javadevik bonuses as their negotiation, something that can only take place after the government reopens. This entire thing is going on and on and on, and I don't think the Democrats have any problem keeping the government closed. I think they want to inflict pain in America. I've seen all kinds of different videos where people are talking about it would hurt our brand if we were to cave into the Republicans. And it's at one point today, there was some sort of rumor flying around that John Thune had said, we'll give you everything you want. Thank God that wasn't true. So what do they want? What exactly do they want? So Chad Pergram, who works for Fox, he wrote it out. Excuse me. Here is the Democrat offer on health care. That's a problem in and of itself. There is no negotiations as far as President Trump has said. You sign it or nothing. But they just keep coming up with proposals. Here's the Democrat offer on health care. Here's what the Democrats are proposing. Chad, you said that 3 times. Reopen the government with a clean CR and bipartisan minibus. Clean 1-year extension of existing ACA, the Obamacare tax credits, which are a simple continuation of current law to ensure families shopping for health coverages aren't hit with skyrocketing costs. The problem with that is that would put it right smack dab in the middle of the midterms. It is November now, and they want to make it an issue in 2026. Establish a bipartisan committee to continue negotiations. Yeah, those bipartisan committees have worked so well. This reasonable good faith offer addresses both parties' priorities. It reopens the government immediately. It provides certainty for families with higher health costs and creates space for bipartisan negotiations once the government is back open. I hope this was a quote and not Chad Pergram. It does not talk to both sides. One side wants this. The other side, hopefully us, no, we don't want any extension of the ACA. We want it gone. We do not want all these people on the rolls. I don't know why they're not saying it. Let people know the truth. For months, Schumer and Leader Jeffries have tried to negotiate to lower costs, keep the government open, and end the shutdown. Republicans have refused to negotiate. I hope he took this and cut and pasted it, because it sounds like a Fox News person is saying it's the Republicans' fault. Please tell me, Chad, that you were quoting somebody. Now, as millions of Americans are being caught in a crossfire from missed paychecks to canceled flights, Democrats are offering a clear off-ramp. The path forward is simple and achievable. Reopen the government, extend the current law for a year, and begin bipartisan talks on long-term health care affordability. And I love the first comment. What do we get? You see, I just read you what Chad and some of these people in the media are going to be saying, oh, it's a good idea, let's go ahead and do it. What do we get? What's in it for us? I didn't see anything in there that said, well, the Republicans are going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. I just see what he wants to do. And luckily, John Thune said, no, go pound sand. This is getting really nuts.
And then have the opportunity to start negotiating longer-term solutions to health care costs. Let's do all 3. I've spoken with my caucus, and Democrats are offering a very simple compromise. Democrats are ready to clear the way to quickly pass a government funding bill that includes health care affordability. Leader Thune just needs to add a clean 1-year extension of the ACA tax credits to the CR so that we can immediately address rising health care costs. That's not a negotiation. It's an extension of current law, something we do all the time around here, as we all know. But we also offer this. Let's create a bipartisan committee that will continue negotiations after the government reopens on reforms, ahead of next year's enrollment period, to provide long-term certainty that health care costs will be more affordable.
These people are inherently evil. They're trying to get the Republicans to push it into next year to make it a campaign issue so that they can run on this for the entire year. And I just hope these people continue to hold the line. Hold it. Don't even cave. Matter of fact, I don't even know at this point why you're even talking to them. From what President Trump has been trying to tell us, and he's been telling us over and over and over, I don't know why they are even having these negotiations. See, you're giving credence to these people over and over. You're giving them the ability to say that they're negotiating, that they're trying to come up with a deal, when that's just the opposite of what's happening. They are prolonging things and using the media, who has been overwhelmingly supportive of the Democrats to the tune of 84% positive. The media keeps making this a Republican shutdown. 84% of their coverage has been completely positive to the Democrats. You can go check that. It's probably even more at this point. Meanwhile, President Trump is obviously, he knows what to do. I want to show you a couple of things. I want you to pay attention to this. President Trump at 11:15 this morning: if Republicans kill the filibuster, they sail to victory for many years to come. If they don't, disaster is waiting to happen. I don't know if I have these in chronological order, but that was 11:15. This one was the first one earlier at 8:43 a.m. Just say no, NO, nuclear option. Terminate the filibuster. And then I have a third one. This one was 8:41. Republicans terminate the filibuster and bring back the American dream. If you don't do it, the Dems will, and you'll never see office again. So I'm going to ask you a question. Why do you think President Trump is posting that over and over and over? 3 times this morning, 3 or 4 times yesterday. Today, when I'm going to show you the Viktor Orban press conference and information that came out there, why does he keep saying it? Well, one, obviously, to keep the message strong, and hopefully the press will keep, reporting. But there's another reason that's even more important. See, he could pick up John Thune and call John Thune at any time. He could say, Caroline, go ahead and get John Thune and Mike Johnson here in the office. Let's discuss this. They know how he feels. The reason he's posting this stuff is for you and me. He's letting us know, I want to just tear this thing down. It's those guys who are holding everything up. It's the media, it's the Democrats, and it's a bunch of Republicans. It's a bunch of Republican politicians. It's a bunch of Republican influencers who think that they have a say in this matter, instead of just listening to the person who they voted for, listening and dancing with the person who brought you to the dance. Now they all have opinions as if they matter. If they mattered, they'd be in the cabinet. But no, they're sitting behind cameras and lights telling everybody what they think should happen, and using X to completely divide MAGA. Well, Barry, aren't you doing the same thing? No. I'm telling you, I am 100% behind Trump, and I have no opinion other than what he wants to do. My opinion stems from what he believes, what Scott Besson believes, what J.D. Vance believes are best for this country. And I will. That's the hill I'm going to die on. So Chuck Schumer and all the influencers and the cutthroat Republican politicians can go pound sand. One of the reasons why our mods here are so tough is because I am not going to allow fissions, cracks in this family. I am not going to allow or condone people to say, well, Trump's wrong and maybe we should do this. No. It's the Trump channel. We're going to follow what Trump says. Is it okay to have second guessing? Is it okay to maybe think to yourself, should we try this? Sure. But the denigration of the guy that we've been following who took a bullet for us, that ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen as far as I'm doing this channel. And I'm tired. I'm absolutely tired of seeing what I see online. I'm tired of people thinking they know better. I'm tired of people who are obviously in it for clicks and likes and views. I'm tired of it to the point of we need to begin calling out some of these people who are influencers and tell them, stop with your bull crap. I know it's fake. I know you're full of crap. Not everything, but a lot of what you're saying is doing nothing to try and draw in the people who don't have the knowledge. And you're drawing those people who don't have the knowledge because they're attracted to you because you don't have the knowledge. You're just saying what they want to hear. I don't want to name any names. From what I'm going to say today and tomorrow, you're going to know who the names are. One of them is extremely prominent, and another one is a group that's extremely prominent. And you're probably going to be, when I show you what's going on, realize we have to tell them because their schools didn't tell them, their professors didn't tell them, they were indoctrinated in college, they don't know any different, they think we're boomers who just got lucky, and you've got influencers who are capitalizing on their ignorance. Well, let's go back to Chucky for a little bit. I'll get into all this.
This proposal reopens the government and ensures working families who are shopping right now for their health care get certainty and financial relief. While open enrollment has begun, insurers can update their rates after we pass a simple extension of the tax credits. With this approach, we do not negotiate health care in the shutdown as Leader Thune has maintained he wishes. And the American people get the tax credit extension they want.
Well, if it was the American people, why not just put Americans only? Why not show the actual document that you want to propose? You just want Obamacare to continue. Well, tell everybody what that means. No one in the media, hey, listen, what exactly does that mean? Does that mean that the insurance companies automatically get like 35 or 40 billion? Oh, yeah, they do. Does that automatically mean that the newcomers get to stay on Obamacare that we have to pay for? Yeah, it does. Stop peeing on my leg and telling me it's raining. These people are lying, and the media is covering for them, and some influencers are, well, oh, we got to do something. You know, the poll, the poll right now says that Trump's underwater with young people. Young people on Monday won't remember what they had for dinner on Friday night. I say that because it's very important for you to see what President Trump is doing. He knows he's not running for re-election, so he's going to take the arrows. He's going to take the fire literally right now because the overall plan will change. And people who are screaming and ready to jump off of buildings right now don't know and can't see what's coming. Let me ask you a question. Why do you think President Trump has made such an emphasis early in his term to fix things internationally? Why have all these world leaders come here to talk to him to try and cut deals within the first year of his term? Think about that. Nobody's talking about that. You need to be talking about that. You need to understand what happened over the last 10 years. Do you remember what happened? You probably don't, because the media won't tell you. I want you to go look up something. I want you to start digging deep into something called Five Eyes. And when you start looking, am I still connected here? If you start digging into Five Eyes and the relationship that Five Eyes had to his impeachment and all the other crap, some things might start appearing clearer to you. If you don't know how Five Eyes was involved or what Five Eyes is, that is something you need to understand right now, because I'm pretty sure, watching how things have transpired, President Trump said to his team, all right, we got to get all of this crap overseas fixed, because those people overseas are what caused everything over here. Everybody remembers Christopher Steele, don't you? The dossier thing? Well, where'd the dossier thing come from? Well, when you look up Five Eyes and you look at Christopher Steele and you look at what was going on internationally, yeah, light bulbs are going to go off. I need to clean this stuff up now. I need to find out what's going on in Australia. I needed to find out what's going on in England. I need to find out what's going on in Canada. And I need to let these people know in New Zealand, what the hell you did before ain't going to happen anymore. So as you dig into Five Eyes, some of you will sit back and go, whoa, I didn't know that. I didn't know that Five Eyes was part of the international coalition to take down Trump. Get them off the playing field so that the deep state doesn't have the ability to reach out to these people. So that the deep state can't run the same playbook. Cut off your enemy's options. I took out USAID. I took out the NGOs. I took out this. I took out that. Now they have no avenue in Australia. Now they have no avenue in Canada. Now they have no avenue in England. And so that picture should be beginning to appear to you is if you're going to fight an enemy, you need to know how to stop that enemy. And it's not here with Chuck Schumer. It's out there. Chuck Schumer's a pawn. The Democrat Party are nothing but enabled orcs. It's the people around the world behind the scenes that have been doing everything and causing all the problems here. You got to broaden your picture. The only way for you to educate others is for you to know yourself. So some of you guys are probably Googling Five Eyes right now going, what the hell is he talking about? Yeah, there's a lot of people don't know.
That is what many of our Republican colleagues have floated over the last 6 weeks as a compromise. A one-year tax credit extension and reforms to the credit beyond that. We will agree with the Republican request not to start negotiations until after the government reopens. All Republicans have to do is say yes to extend current law for 1 year. It makes sense. And since what we're proposing is only a simple extension of current law, the Senate could do this within a few hours.
And so you could just sign a continuing resolution in about 10 minutes. Literally, in about 10 minutes. Instead of this charade that you're, going through right now.
This is a reasonable offer that reopens the government, deals with health care affordability, and begins a process of negotiating reforms to the ACA tax credits for the future. Now, the ball is in the Republicans' court. We need
See, that's what he doesn't understand. It's always been in the Republicans' court. You're trying to get some time on the court. They've already held the power. They've already controlled the ball. In case you haven't noticed, 38 days later, they are in control. You're not. And at some point, President Trump understands what has to happen. And I've done so much research on it. I'm tired of seeing people on X go, but if we do it, they might do it to us. Trust me, if you see people say that, that should be your first indication and your last indication to stop following them. Because if they're saying the Democrats are going to do it to us, then they don't understand anything about the filibuster being broken. And they're just trying to influence and cave in on MAGA. What do you mean they're going to have a chance to do it to us? There would be no second chance. It would be over. Like he said, oops, wrong one. Where's my window? Boom, here we go. Like President Trump says, terminate it and bring back the American dream. If you don't do it, the Dems will, and you'll never see office again. Well, if the Dems can't ever, if the Republicans would never see office if the Democrats did it, then the Democrats would never see office again. So when you see people posting, I'm afraid what would happen, it's a line we can't cross, you need to be very suspect. You need to really understand what these people are saying. What these people are saying to you in no uncertain terms. We don't think we can win. We don't think we could win 26 and 2028. We're afraid that if we lose, this might happen, which means you don't have your head fully in the game. So why would I follow somebody who's worried about losing? I've never come out the tunnel behind any coach who ever said, we might lose. Even if we're playing the best team in the state, you don't have that mindset walking out there. Our soldiers don't have that mindset. Every one of them knows today could be your last day. Every cop knows today could be your last day. They don't sit there and go, well, they might shoot me if I go to work today. What would happen if you knew a cop who said, I don't know if I should go out there today because something might happen? Doesn't. A mindset doesn't allow those people to even become cops, or not for a long time. It's the same thing. So if you're seeing people out there saying they're worried about what happens if we lose, then I don't want to be around people who are already thinking about losing, who aren't understanding, stomp these people out.
Republicans to just say yes. I yield to Senator Peters.
When he's saying right here, we will pay them not only for today, but for tomorrow and for the entire year, and we won't allow them to be held hostage and be pawns in a political game in the future. And my understanding is the senator from Michigan, on behalf, I suppose, of other Democrats, is objecting to that. Please, please help me understand. This is a straightforward proposal which addresses the concern that millions of Americans have who are headed to food banks and can't pay their rent. And you're coming down here and saying you're going to object because you just want to pay them for yesterday, not for tomorrow or the next day after that? It's about leverage, isn't it? Isn't that what you all been saying? It's about leverage? This isn't leverage. This is the lives of the American people. Senator of Wisconsin has put forward a straightforward proposal to pay people, federal employees, today, tomorrow, and in the future. And what you're essentially saying is, well, I'm fine with paying them for yesterday, but we're not going to pay them for tomorrow or for the day after that, for the future.
You know, what's interesting is that someone in the chat yesterday asked a very good question. That question is, could you terminate the filibuster, do what you need to do, and then pass another law to bring it back up to 60? And so that was very intriguing. So I went and looked. And said, let me find out. And I saw this post by, what's his name? Tony Seruga. Tony used to be, or was involved with the CIA and NSA and a couple different organizations. The filibuster in the United States Senate can be removed and then restored. Exactly what the lady in our chat said yesterday. I was like, OMG. It is not enshrined in the Constitution, but rather it's been established through Senate rules that can be modified by a simple majority vote, often via the nuclear option, which interprets Rule 1022 to lower the threshold for ending debate. The flexibility has been demonstrated historically and is widely acknowledged by experts. How removal works. The filibuster allows senators to delay, as you know, to eliminate. The senators can then vote to change its rules at the start of a new Congress, requiring only 51 votes. So if you can break the filibuster now, do what you need to do, and then the next Congress put it back to 60, what's the problem? Why are some of these people so limp-wristed? I mean, he wrote an absolute book here, if you guys want to go to Tony Saragua's profile, but he goes through it all the way through, and how they can, potential challenges and considerations, and it's pretty simple. It's actually a pretty simple process. You just got to have the cojones to get it done. You got to stop acting like wussies. So if you know right now that they could break it tonight, pass the laws that Trump needs, whatever those laws may be, voter ID, no mail-in ballots, all these different things, they could really pass those within a week, and there would be nothing the Democrats could do. And then they could change it back to 60. So where is the liability? Where is the fear? Oh, do they not know this? Or are they playing dumb for people? I was amazed when that woman said it yesterday. I'm like, I'm going to have to check it. And lo and behold, She was absolutely correct. You can kill it and you can bring it back. Just like that. So you have to ask your senator in your state, what in the hell is wrong with you? Why is this thing not broken right now? President Trump keeps saying, break it right now. Let's do what we need to do. Boom. Open the government. Boom. Voter ID. Boom. No more mail-in ballots. The reason is the Republicans don't want to. There's no other reason. If now that you know yourself, wow, it's that easy, it's that easy, then that tells you that the Republicans, or some of the Republicans, are just as bad as the Democrats. We've known, some of us have known that for quite some time, but now you absolutely know many of them are trying to thwart President Trump. There's no other reason. I don't care if it's Murkowski or Collins, any of them. Hey, why wouldn't you do this? Well, the Democrats could come back at us. Oh, well, why don't we just change it back? Huh? Then why don't you just change it back after we get done what we need to get done? There's no reason. The only reason is Trump. The only reason is they have to block his agenda, which is the most insidious, devious thing that's going on right now, is that there are people in our Congress and our Senate who don't want Trump's agenda. They do not want that kind of power concentrated in the President of the United States, even if it's going to secure their own re-elections forever. It's not worth it giving someone that much power. Is it scary? Maybe. Maybe it's scary because you're thinking, you still need 51. An executive order isn't a law. It's not codified, so you still need 51. So what are they afraid of? Are there at least 51 there? I don't know. I don't think we have 51. I think there's probably going to be 20 or 25 that won't do it, which is another problem. They don't want people to see who the snakes are, because they'd have to vote. Hey, listen, we're going to break the filibuster. Let's go ahead and vote on it. And then it fails like 30 to 70. You're like, wait a second. Wait a minute. How did this not pass? And then there's going to be a long list of Republicans that didn't vote for it. And then everybody will know publicly these people don't want Trump to have the power. And that's a problem. That is a big problem. You got snakes on both sides. This is Senator Kennedy and his reaction to Schumer.
What is your response to Chuck Schumer's proposal here to keep those ACA benefits going for another year, bipartisan committee to work on those, and reopen the government with the clean CR?
God, please give me patience, because if you give me strength, I'm going to need bail money.
So this guy is very good. I love Senator Kennedy, and I really have been one who's been in his camp because he's got these anecdotes. They're always so funny. But what's not funny is him saying he doesn't want to break the filibuster. And now you're going to start seeing, somebody had posted a picture that there were like 26 or 27 Republicans who don't want to break it. They don't say why. Don't tell me about, they might use it against me. Why do they not want to break it? Well, the only answer that I can keep coming up with, and maybe you guys can come up with a different one, is they don't want to give President Trump that kind of a win. Well, what do you mean win? Wouldn't voter ID be good for the country? Absolutely. But then if voter ID is good for the country, then MAGA has even more power. MAGA, under President Trump, would then probably come out en masse because they know they have voter ID. If there's no mail-in ballot. See, a lot of these close races, we're waiting for the inner city to come up with it would be over. I think these people are afraid of their own shadow, or they're that crooked.
What Senator Schumer is suggesting is that we do the dumbest thing possible that won't work. Stupid should hurt more. Senator Schumer says we should just extend the status quo for a year. What does that mean? That means that we would have to take $35 billion of taxpayer money and give it directly to the health insurance companies.
Now, did you know that? One of those provisions, which nobody's talking about on the news, is that right away, $35 billion gets shipped out to the insurance companies. $35 billion. These people are beholden. How much of that money is coming back to some of those senators? $35 billion is a lot of jack.
Without any commitment of lowering premiums. How is that going to reduce health care costs? How's that going to reduce premiums? The health care companies are going to take $35 billion from the taxpayers and put it into their pockets. I mean, duh. I don't know what Senator Schumer is thinking. Earth to Chuck. I mean, earth to Chuck. Am I going to vote for this? The short answer is no. The long answer is hell no. I think we're just going to have to get used to the fact that we've been in a shutdown. We're going to be in a shutdown for a while.
No, you don't have to get used to being in a shutdown for a while. I find it odd that that was his answer. Well, I think we're just going to have to get used to things being shut down for a while. Well, there's another option, Senator. There's another option where you don't have to get used to just being shut down. You could do it today. President Trump and be on his desk. And by the way, just to let you know, once they go through all these crazy negotiations, if the Republicans then said, okay, we'll agree to what Schumer wants to do, Trump isn't going to sign it. So you're watching a dance of futility. Unless President Trump is willing to go back on what he has stood for, this is just a waste of time on a Friday afternoon. Like I said, I'm tired of it. It makes no sense whatsoever. It is a game, a shell game. By the way, it's 4:30? President Trump's on his way back down here, which they're going to freak out. Like, I got nothing to say to you. Break the filibuster. Nothing else matters. So when he said that to me, that bothers me. Like, well, I guess we'll have to get used to the shut. No, we don't have to get used to the shutdown. See, one way or another, it doesn't affect me. It may not even affect you, but it affects other people who are starting to get pissed off. Do something. I would say most people. I believe most people have no impact on their daily lives with the government being shut down. That's one of the problems as well with this messaging, is because outside of X, how many of you, you can put in the chat, how many of you are impacted by the shutdown or have friends, family members, or coworkers impacted by the shutdown? I bet it's going to be a fraction. I bet it's small. It's Friday in November. And I've talked to you about football. You're going to see it again this weekend. I keep telling you, if you don't like football, just do this and go, oh my gosh, they're all packed. They're all packed. I'm heading down Sunday to watch the Buffalo Bills beat the heck out of the Dolphins. I don't know, because they suck so bad, there might not be as many people there, but the people there, I'm going to have fun. My boys at Notre Dame, they play. Packed stadium. Ashley right now is at the beach as my grandson has a playoff football game tonight over there. People are having fun, living their lives. After I get off this show, I got to hustle, change, shower. Robin and I going out to dinner. I can probably do this at dinner and show you a picture. Be packed. Packed. So tell me who's really worried about this shutdown. People traveling? Yeah, I could see that. Obviously the people in SNAP and things of that nature. But the bulk of people? I don't think so. I could be wrong.
Voted 14 times to lift the shutdown. The Democrats and Senator Rand Paul have voted 14 times to keep the government shut down. We're just going to be here for a while.
He's already resigned himself to the fact we're just going to be here a while. Why? Why won't you take the stuff that President Trump has been saying and actually do something? They're afraid of something. I don't know what it is. I don't know if their pockets are lined by some of these people. Something doesn't make sense. I'm pretty sure every one of you, if you were in an issue, if you had an issue that you had to take care of and you had a resolution available to you, you'd take it. You wouldn't endure the pain. You would work to get out of the pain. Yeah, let me stop here and take a few comments. I am MAGA. Everything else is crooked slaves to communism. Good. That's what we're going to talk about. Now I'm worried and I opened my own store. Okay. Going out tonight for some fun. Don't care. Rosie Rat. You sound like Senator Kennedy. I don't care. Rosie Rat's behind. That's awesome. Okay, here's someone. She goes, I do. My daughter does business with military people, and they are not ordering as she's making 50% less. Okay. Oh yeah. Now Trump knows which 24 Senate Republicans. Deep state globalist checkmate. Next move. Pockets are lined, Mary Kay says. Absolutely. Byron Donalds wants to get rid of the filibuster. Right? Have you noticed how many people have been attacking Byron Donalds? Have you noticed how many people have been saying he's bad? Everybody's pointing at each other instead of just saying, go with the boss. I'm not really sure. I wish they would shut up and stop going on camera, which is why I didn't want to cover everything from him, Mike Johnson. Let's see, they just don't have 51 votes in the Republican. Even with a total of 54, they can't muster 51. There's more than that. I think there's 56 or 57, and they can't get to 51. So you're coming up with the actual answer yourselves right now. That actual answer meaning the only way out of this, it appears, is for President Trump to go ahead and do the act, Insurrection Act, do something. These people aren't going to do it. They have made it known at this point. One here, Howley says he might, Tommy Tuberville says he would, but they don't have enough. There's still 20 or something of them who don't want it to work. They're undermining America for some reason. All right, I'm going to take a glass of water and come back, and I want to show you begin to segment 2, that was segment 1, and talk to you about something that really, really has me irked. I mean, seriously.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so there's something going on with young people. colleges, influencers, people on X are creating a mania. It's absolutely insane what's being talked about. I think as parents and grandparents, we need to be more active and showing people, not just posting on X, talking to people and saying what they're telling you is a lie. Everything they're telling you is a lie. And now, unfortunately, we have to combat some people on the right who are amplifying that lie. You see, what these kids have lost, besides their marbles, is hope. They have lost hope. They think they're not going to be able to live, quote, the American dream. Whatever that definition may be. They feel they can't do it. The deck is stacked against them. Us boomers have shut the door behind us. And I think it's important for us to show these people, because people like the socialists in New York are going to try and mess with their minds and tell them, we'll take care of you. This is the way to go. And right now they firmly believe that they're screwed. And they firmly believe that you screwed them. Those of you who are boomers. They find there's no way out. And the funny thing is, it only takes looking to find that there is a way out. And there's people out there promising in the world, we're going to do this, and there's a big organization that's telling kids that they're going to be able to do this and do that, instead of just showing them. Enough with the innuendos, just show them. Because this is what's happening behind the scenes right now.
Now we're going to talk about taxing the rich. We got to do it to win so many of the things that we need. We need it for Zoran's agenda. We need it for society. So I'm going to pass it over to Ariel, one of our chairs of the Tax the Rich campaign, to talk about how we get there.
The fact that they are doing this, that they didn't even wait a week, they're knee deep into more indoctrination, more brainwashing. While people in other areas are like, New York, it doesn't really matter that it's New York. It's where they're going with this. And I found this video, and it's scary, because these people are getting organized. These people are well funded, which kind of is like a weird thing for a socialist. You're well funded, but we got to tax the rich. What's rich? Now, see, I had to pause there because many of you might have bad definitions. What's rich? Somebody posted something earlier. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Yeah, here's one thing. I'm going to go ahead and show you this. Somebody posted this earlier. And it said the top 1% of U.S. earners now have more wealth than the entire middle class. And the red line is middle class wealth. The blue line is top 1% wealth. In I'd say 92, 93, it was a huge difference. The middle class had all the wealth. And then it started inverting to where in, I don't know, what was this, 2004, it fell off the chart for the middle class. It just started tanking. This is a trend line. And as you look at trend lines, you can see where things are headed. That the top 1% is going to continue to grow of the people who are controlling the wealth in this country, whereas the middle class is going to continue going down. So the first thing I want to ask you, before you decide to tax the rich, and you want to talk about the 1%, do you know what that means? See, most people think of the top 1% as Elon, as Bezos, as Zuckerberg. Oh, that's the top, that's the 1%ers. Those are the 1%ers. Think again. Think again. I am pretty sure that there are some people in this chat who now are realizing they are in the 1%. So I'm not going to single anybody out. Let me just tell you what the new definition, well, not new, it's the actual truth, the definition of someone being in the top 1%. It means you have $750,000 of clear assets. So if you have $750,000 in your retirement, or $350 in your equity in your home, and $400 in your retirement, you are now in the top 1%. And any derivation thereof, 200 here, 200 there, 300 there, whatever it is, 750 is now the target for these socialists. Not Bezos, not Elon, not Zuckerberg. Not the guys driving the $30 million yachts down the intercoastal. It's people you probably know who have worked all their lives and saved up and bought a house or bought 2 houses or have a decent retirement. You are now the 1%. Go ahead and look it up. Look up 1% of U.S. earners. And they're going to tell you it's 700 if you earn $750,000 in a year, which still isn't, I know to some people, $750,000 as a income level is far from rich. Because if you're making $750,000 a year, that means you're probably only taking home, I don't know, $450, $500. Notice how that number just keeps coming down further and further. And that's who they want to go after. And I don't expect anybody to raise their hand and say, I'm in the 1%. Don't do that because they'll come for you. But in any event, that's 1%. And these people want to take your money, your assets, and give them to somebody else. Oh, and unabashedly so.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ariel. I'm the campaigns coordinator for New York City Democratic Socialists of America. People say this all the time after campaigns, but they do not always mean it. We mean it today. The fight is not over. We ran this mayor's race because we believe in a New York City where everyone can live in dignity that everyone can afford. That means freezing the rent, fast and free buses, universal childcare, and now we are at the moment where we have to deliver. At the same time, Trump is gutting the federal government and cutting off funding to the states. These cuts are enormously harmful to working people all across New York City and New York State.
I want you to look at these people. And as you're looking at these people, I want you to realize as they begin spreading their virus, these are the type of people who are coming for you. These people don't have any experience whatsoever. Now that we're elected, now we got to go out and make something happen. So we got to go figure out how we're going to tax the rich. Oh, you didn't have a plan before you ran? Now you're coming up with your plan. This isn't just fake make-believe stuff. You didn't have a plan? Okay, on day one, we're going to do this. God help the people in New York. These young kids don't have a clue. And now they feel like they're emboldened and they're going to come for you.
But we can stand up to Trump and implement a democratic socialist agenda, Zoran's agenda, our agenda, at the state level by taxing the rich. We have what we need to ensure a dignified life for everyone. We raise taxes in New York in the New York State budget, which is a document that's negotiated every spring by both houses of the legislature and the governor. The budget is finalized in April, which means we have just 6 months to build a massive campaign to tax the rich for childcare, fast and free buses, and a city we can afford. We have done it.
Just now they're putting this together up in New York. We got 6 months. We got to hurry up and show that we can actually do what we've been saying. Where everyone's been telling you, you can't do it. It's not going to work. Now, after he got elected, these idiots are going to run around and try to figure out how to make it happen. But the scary part is they've already got designs on other areas and what they're going to do outside of New York City. That to me was even more worrisome.
Before, in 2021, socialists made big wins, and we can do it again. We can win Iran's agenda, we can stand up to Trump, and we can deliver real wins for working people. We're having a massive kickoff rally on Union Square on November 16th at 12 p.m., and we need to see you there. And then we will...
So here it is again. Rallies, rallies, rallies. Bringing more young kids that don't have a clue and completely indoctrinate them that we got to tax the rich. Honey, how are you going to do that? You don't have the power. I don't want to say his name. The socialist guy, he doesn't have the power. What are you guys talking about? Here's what they're doing. They're riling kids up. They're getting these kids together. And then, of course, probably the old hippies, whatever. But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to let these kids know, here's where you need to come. Join our gang. We're going to help you get dignified. Well, I thought dignified was earning something. I thought, going out and actually making something of yourself, that's dignified. No, not to them. Dignified is taking yours and then let's spread it around. That makes it dignified. You're telling me there are people right now who have grown up and are continuing to join in with these people who find it dignified to live off the back of somebody else and be completely happy taking it. People found out that Elon's new package was for $1 trillion or so, and you wouldn't believe how many people came out the woodwork, even some people you may know. Oh, he shouldn't have that much. He shouldn't get that much. Who are you? Nobody should have that much. Why? When I grew up, I would see someone making that kind of money like, damn, I got work to do. Even if I fall short, I'm going to be in a good spot. Not these people. Oh, we need to take that.
Have a massive door knocking program so we can keep the good vibes and the canvas vibes from the Iran campaign going, so we can keep talking to our neighbors about what we deserve, about socialist politics, about the city we can afford and what we need. And we will do this together. We will do this as socialists, as DSA. So my final ask to you, come out on the 16th at the rally and join DSA so we can keep building these campaigns to win real change for working people. Join DSA to continue the momentum from the Iran race. Join DSA to win a city where each and every person can live a dignified life. Thank you so much.
I didn't hear the word job anywhere. I didn't hear anything about, if we get together and we'll help you all get jobs. Let's try to make sure that people can find employment. Nope. Oh, so you just want to have big rallies of nothing and just suck people in and get them to understand it's more dignified to have stuff given to you. Lord help us. That's why I'm doing this video right now to try to tell you we can no longer just tweet. It's not working. It's not working because there's too many forces out there, including some on the right, that are fighting against us.
And let's build an organizing infrastructure, ecosystem, and machine that helps to decide the next big statewide race, which is the governor's race next year. And then
okay, so in case you guys don't know, this is Mr. Fireplug. This is the guy who had got booted out of Congress. He had no use for him. This is the guy who pulled the alarm, and he quickly found his home with the socialist. And so now he's back. Here he comes back again like a bad penny, and he's trying to get these kids. We're not stuck on New York City. We got much bigger sites.
Going to be Senate races in a couple of years, on and on and on. And we could do this in New York City. We could and must do it in Long Island. We could do it in Westchester County. But let's continue to build power for the people and save our country from these fascists that are trying to destroy it.
We don't hate.
See that message? You seeing the messaging that they're putting out there? I don't know how many kids were on that call, but they are talking to them in the shadows. Not out on the media. They're talking to these kids on back channel networks, telling them, this is what we need to do. Now let me show you something here. I posted this earlier, And I don't know what to do other than to do everything I can to make sure these people know that it's not right. And nobody's telling them it's not right. Even if you ignore them, it just allows them to continue to perpetuate this thinking.
Capitalism. We don't love socialism. We don't hate capitalism. What we hate is knowing that we are at the end of capitalism. We know that when we play Monopoly, which was created to explain capitalism, that at some point someone has accrued all the property. Someone has all the land, someone has all the...
Accrued. She meant to say acquired. She's talking about a board game from 1903. A board game that was put together before the Great Depression. It's a game, and she's trying to equate life to a board game. She's not that bright. She's not that bright, but the problem is she's got friends, and they all begin to think this way. We have to do something different because it's not working anymore. And as you listen to this, you realize this woman, young woman, is stupid. She's been indoctrinated.
Well, and the game ends. And at that point, you can't keep playing because going around the board, you're just going to have to keep paying that person, right? Well, that's what's happened in America. In America, the monopolies have taken over. They own every facet of our life. So
if you believe that monopolies own every facet of your life, then it does sound hopeless. There is no place to go if you've been taught everybody owns you. You don't have any opportunity.
Doing is paying them. And so we know that they've won. Like billionaires, trillionaires, you've won. Way to go. Now we're going to have some sort of board reset in order for the American dream to even be a concept anymore. Right now,
not only do they not believe in the American dream, they don't even think it's a concept right now. We got to fix everything so that it becomes a concept. How did this happen? Well, the other idiots and the people she knew at school and all the other ones she hung out with have told her that over and over and over. The American dream is gone. And now you know who I'm talking about because there are now people on the right, MAGA influencers, who are telling these kids, I'm going to reinstitute the American dream. I'm going to bring it back. It never went anywhere. By saying you're going to bring it back, you're giving sustenance to this idiocy. By saying you're going to bring back the American dream, you are telling her she's right. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know who is doing the messaging out there and telling these kids, oh, well, let's go ahead and reinvigorate the American dream. It never went anywhere. The American dream is still as strong today as it was in yesterday. And I even see, because right now I guarantee you there's some people in the chat going, oh, it's not true, Barry. Exactly, that's what I'm telling you. People are convinced that the system is rigged. Last time I checked, I looked in the mirror, I'm a black guy. And I'm telling you, the system is not rigged. These kids think it's rigged, and there are right-wing influencers out there telling them, you're right, we need to fix it. What the hell do you need to fix? I'm serious, excuse me. What do you need to fix? What is broken?
every small business gets eaten up by something like Amazon or Walmart. If we want capitalism and we want it to work, we are going to have a socialism mixed with capitalism mentality. Just like...
She actually thought enough to put this video together and put it online. We're going to have a capitalism and socialism and mix it all together, and that's going to work. We can't talk anymore. We cannot talk to these people. They believe, their participation trophy is something that should happen their entire life. They believe until the participation trophy has changed. It has changed from the Little League trophy to now I deserve a Cybertruck. It has changed to the person where now they look at things and go, I can't live here. I need a house on the beach. The dream didn't disappear. The methodology and instruction needed to attain that dream completely collapsed. To the point where they believe this as she's sitting in an SUV, obviously filming it on a phone with nails and makeup and everything else. But she's like, the American dream is dead. How can you even say that? If you just look at yourself, you are in a position right there as you're filming this video. You're a good-looking woman. Your hair's done. You obviously got makeup. You've done your nails. You're in an SUV of some sort with leather seats in the back with the sunroof right there. And you're saying capitalism doesn't work as you film it on an $800 iPhone. Seems it worked. Seems it most assuredly worked for you.
Countries, and we're going to have to regulate billionaires and corporations from acquiring every bit of the wealth, and they're going to have to redistribute the wealth, or we will never have a game reset.
See, we're going to have to take your money, otherwise none of us can participate in the American dream. And I'm thinking to myself, how do we get here? How did we get here to the point where they think they have no access to the American dream? It's scary. And that's why I'm saying it's time we got to roll up our sleeves and, hey, honey, no, I don't want to say honey. I don't want to be any sort of condescending. Would you rather I show you? How about that? Maybe because obviously nobody has shown you. This is completely new and foreign. Oh, what do you mean? I can actually do something on my own? Yeah. Has nobody told you that?
And that means we all keep losing and they keep winning.
It's like Milton Friedman said, like money is most poorly spent when you're spending someone else's money on people you don't know. How much are you going to care?
And that's so true. When it's not yours, you don't care. Oh, they shouldn't. No, that's oh, that nice car. We need to take some of their money. We need to keep taking their money. I responded to someone on X about this one video, and I knew from the response, where is this guy? All right. Here's this guy who responded. I want you to see this. He may be watching right now. She is actually right in many respects. Walmart has put mom and pops out of business. Bezos has closed down malls. But you can ignore the truth if you have money, own houses, are part of the money managers, then you get to make fun of her and society is getting a reset. I believe I responded by saying, I get to make fun of her because it's bullcrap. And too many like you use this ideology as a crutch. He responded, so Walmart doesn't own the grocery and product market? Bezos has not put malls out of business? You live in your small, protected world without the ability to be sympathetic to others who have not yet or not had the same experiences. Good luck with that, Barry. They have no hope. They think anybody who's had any degree of success has only been able to succeed is because they, quote, live in a small, protected world without the ability to be sympathetic. Knock, knock, knock. No, I'm not sympathetic. I have no sympathy for people who want to take from others. No, I'm not sympathetic for people who have been indoctrinated by idiots to the point where they actually feel this way. You only got the money and the houses because, you know, that's how it is. I don't get it. And so I had posted something earlier, and it's something I'm going to go over tomorrow. And I will spend time talking about it for those of you who want to know. And I'm going to show you right now proof that the American dream is not dead. And some of you guys are going to like, what do you mean? I'm going to show you proof. Because people say I can't get into a home. I can't do this. I can't do that and the other thing. Hold on. SV is hitting me up. I don't know if he's got some breaking news or whatever. Hold on. Okay, hold on. And I'm going to show you right now. All right, you ready for this? My wife, as you know, is a real estate agent. I'm an investor. I'm not an agent. And I posted this. I said, anyone, including those people that you consider influencers, anyone telling you there's no affordable housing in South Florida or anywhere is lying to you. They're absolutely lying to you. There's no excuse for what they say because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They are as ignorant as the idiots they are trying to bamboozle. And I go, there are literally hundreds of opportunities, even in an expensive area like Boca. Ignore the BS. And so I found this condo. Let me see if it shows up. Let me get a different window here for you. And even for any naysayer, this is the kind of thing that just drives me crazy as I hear the nuts say stupid stuff. This 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath condo is $129,000, $130,000. And there are literally hundreds of them for $125,000, $130,000. The problem isn't anything to do with the American dream. The American dream is fine. I mean, if some of you guys in the hood, no, it's not in the hood. There it is. That's the lake that it sits on. Let me see if it. I'll change the pictures here so you can see them. I hit the wrong thing. Hold on a second here. All right, here's the kitchen. There's the kitchen, right there. There's the kitchen. Where are the rest of the pictures? Anyway, let me go back. That's the okay. All photos. All right. There's the this is the outside. There's your porch looking over the grass in the lake. There's a living room. There's the bedroom. There's the other part of the living room. There's the bathroom. There's behind the couch in the living room. There's a little dinette set. There's the kitchen. And it's $129,900. When I was 25, 26, 27, I would have loved, actually 23, 24, 25, I got 23, 24, I would have loved to have a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo that I would have as my own. There is no problem with the American dream. The American dream is solid. It's the ideology that's broken. It's the fact that you need to have a Cybertruck. It's the need that the misplaced idea that you need to live on the beach. When every single one of us, if you know some of the places I lived in, and I'm sure you guys were pretty much the same. Like, hey man, I wouldn't have moved Midas and Lily into some of the places I've lived in. They don't want that. They are told they deserve more. It's more dignified. The American dream is well, and I'm going to prove it. I'm putting it together, but here's what I'm going to do in December. I am going to put somebody in one of these condos. I am going to show them. I will make their down payment for them. And then I'll have a case study that I can post and show anybody that Fred and Sylvia right away got into this condo, and that's their new home to start. Because I already know, as I've told you a couple days ago, and I'll show you even more, that you only need 3 or 4% down. So 3 or 4% on that property is going to be about $4,000. I will pay the down payment. I will gift the down payment, and somebody will have that as their home. Just to prove that the American dream is not dead. That's what I'm going to do. I've done it before. I've done it before. I've told people, if you buy this property here, I'll make your mortgage payments for a year. Because I know how to do this because I've done it. I don't need to post on X, hey, we're going to do something to make you guys feel like the American dream is still alive. No. Don't promote it. Just freaking do it. Put your money behind what you say. Put somebody in a home. So I'm going to go into that in detail tomorrow. I don't want to go into it now because this isn't the time. There's some people like, no, I don't want to hear about it. But I'm going to help somebody buy a home. And we're going to film it, and we're going to do everything, and we're going to show people the American dream is kicking. It's alive and kicking. And don't let anybody, anywhere tell you otherwise. I already talked to Robin about it this morning. She's like, let's do it. Let's see. High HOA cost. Well, high HOA cost depends on the HOA. Let me see what this one was so I can tell you what the HOA is on it. The HOA is $750 a month on that property. So at $750 a month, if you got in, at a 5% mortgage at, I don't know, whatever it is, do the math. Do the math. If you know that you can get an FHA loan at about 6% or 5 or 6%, work backwards and say, okay, boom. Actually, you can go on Realtor.com and put in how much the mortgage will be if you put X amount down. Let me see. I'll do that tomorrow. We'll do all that tomorrow and we'll go through it. But anyway, we're gonna. What's that say? Let's see. My wife's yelled at me because I said something. I said a bad word. She yelled at me. All right, so I'm going to segue into this next piece and not say much until it gets to the fun part. President Trump had Viktor Orban in the White House today, and they held a presser of sorts. And so let's jump into that. Tomorrow we're going to go in depth on that stuff.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have a friend of mine here, Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, and he's done a fantastic job. He's a very powerful man within his country, but he's also beloved. They love Viktor, and people that know him do. He's run a really great country, and he's got no crime, he's got no problems like some countries do, but probably has a couple of things that I don't know about, maybe that I don't want to know about. But he's a very special person. I've known him for a long time. We're going to be talking trade. We're going to be talking a little bit of Russia, Ukraine. We'll be talking about energy and energy prices. We have energy down to a pretty low point right now in the United States. We're drilling, drill baby drill, we call it. But energy costs are very low. Our general costs are very low. And I just saw that Walmart came out with a statement last night. They've done it for many years, that Thanksgiving this year will cost 25% less than Thanksgiving last year under Sleepy Joe Biden. So that's a big difference. That's a big difference. 25% less Thanksgiving. And I think that's a very good chart. They include everything that you need for Thanksgiving. So it's 25% less this year than it was last year. And that's true. That's emblematic of the rest of prices. Energy prices are way down from what they were last year. Inflation is almost non-existent. We have inflation down to a very low number, whereas Biden, as you know, is the worst inflation in the history of our country. So we're doing very well. We have a shutdown, as you probably know, because the Democrats have gone, they're crazy. They're crazy, but they don't care if they hurt the country. But we've approved it 14 times. We've approved opening up 14 times, and they keep rejecting it. And I guess maybe they will again. Let's see what happens. They want to have a lot of bad things happen, bad things for our country. We're not going to give $1.5 trillion to people that came into our country illegally. We're not going to do it. To people who came from prisons, they came from mental institutions, they're drug dealers. They want to give them medical care. $1.5 trillion. And we're not going to do other things that they're requesting also. So I just want to welcome this really good person. I know him very well. He's a good person, and he's a great leader, and he's loved in his country. And Viktor, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you very much, President.
Thank you.
First of all, may I say that thank you very much for the invitation. It's good to see you, President, back to the White House. And good to be back after 6 years, anyway, again, to see you here.
Yeah.
As we have met last time. The reason why we are here to open a new chapter between the bilateral relation of the United States and Hungary, basically because during the Democrat administration, everything was ruined. So after your leaving president, everything was basically blocked, ruined, cancelled, a lot of harm done by the previous administration. In the last 10 months, President, what you have done, we are very much grateful for that. You restored the old level of the relationship. You improved the bilateral relation. You repair what was done badly by the previous administration. So now we are in quite a good position to open up a new chapter, let's say a golden age between United States and Hungary, and we have plenty of suggestions for today: economic cooperation, military cooperation, and political cooperation. And the main issue, probably, President, you know, we are neighboring Ukraine, which is in war. It's the most important issue for us, and we would like to discuss with you how we can contribute to help you in your peace efforts.
And you've taken a lot of Ukrainians that needed your help, and you've taken a lot of them in your country, and everybody appreciates that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we do our best.
Thank you very much. Any questions, please? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Orban has requested an exemption as it relates to oil that is coming from Russia. Is that something that you are prepared to do? And may I ask Mr. Orban a question in regards to that very issue?
Sure. We're looking at it because it's very difficult for him to get the oil and gas from other areas. As you know, they don't have the advantage of having sea. It's a great country. It's a big country, but they don't have sea. They don't have the ports. And so they have a difficult problem. There's another country that has that same problem, by the way. But when you look at what's happened with Europe, many of those countries, they don't have those problems, and they buy a lot of oil and gas from Russia. And as they know, I'm very disturbed by that because we're helping them, and they're going and buying oil and gas from Russia. So that question could be really asked maybe more accurately if you talked about many European countries, not Hungary necessarily, because Hungary is in a different position. But many European countries are buying oil and gas from Russia, and they have been for years. And I say, what's that all about, right? Thank you.
So that will be one of the issues for today, to explain clearly what would be the consequences for the Hungarian people and for the Hungarian economy not to get oil and gas from Russia, because we are supplied by pipelines. Pipeline is not an ideological or political issue, it's a physical reality, because we don't have port, exactly as the President explained to you. So we will negotiate on that point. It's vital for us anyway.
Mr. Orban, there are two pipelines, as I understand it. There's a pipeline from Ukraine and there's a pipeline from Croatia. And my understanding is that the pipeline from Croatia can provide all of Hungary's energy needs. As a result, why would we need an exemption if that's the case?
Okay. So when we discuss that issue, you should separate the gas and the oil. On the gas issue, which is very important for us, 90% of the Hungarian households based on heating system based on gas. So we have only one pipeline delivering gas to Hungary, which is the main pipeline, the Turkish one. What we got from Croatia is a very small volume supplementary gas pipeline. Okay, that's gas. Oil is another issue. So oil is coming from the Druzhba pipeline, which is the main supply, and that is a Croatian one, which is the secondary and supplementary pipeline. We would like to convince the Croatian government to enlarge it and make it possible to deliver more. Under these circumstances, it cannot be the main pipeline. It's just supplementary. But later on, with some big investments, it could serve better the interest of Hungary.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Many people see this issue not just as an encounter between two countries, but as the symbol of the strengthening of a new conservative world alliance. Would you agree with that interpretation? And how do you see the future of Europe in the light of leaders like Viktor Orban stand up to Brussels bureaucracy and the globalist agenda?
Are you from Hungary?
Yes, I am.
I figured. The fact is that he's a great leader, and he's respected all over, not necessarily liked by some of the leaders, but, those leaders have proven to be wrong. If you look at his stance on immigration and other things, if you look at Europe, they've made tremendous mistakes on immigration. It's really hurting them very badly. He has not made a mistake on immigration. So he's respected by everybody. He's liked by some. And I can tell you, I like and respect. I'm a double. I like and respect him. And that's the way Hungary is being led. They're being led properly. And that's why he's going to be very successful in his upcoming election.
May I have a comment
Please.
on that? Language is important because the Anglo-Saxon terminology is different from the European one. So to use categories can create some misunderstanding. So I would like to be clear as much as we can. We are the only government in Europe which consider itself as a modern Christian government. All the other governments in Europe are basically liberal leftist governments. So we try to do something from 2010 which is different from what the others are doing, even at the philosophical level and at the level of practice as well, as just the president described it, like migration. So we are kind of a special island of difference in a liberal ocean in Europe. And we consider ourselves as a modern Christian government. That's the proper category to describe what we are doing.
To both of you. Immigration.
We're talking, but we'll report on that later. Meetings with Putin. We were talking about that with Victor. He understands Putin and knows him very well. And I feel that, I'm going to let you say what you think, but I think that Victor feels we're going to get that war ended in the not too distant future. Victor, do you want to talk about that?
Well, I'm strongly convinced. So the question is whether we Westerners are unified or not. The problem is that the president has huge peace efforts, which are just splendid and very positive for the European continent and all the peoples of Europe. But at the same time, we are not unified because Brussels and the Europeans have a different approach to the war. So the only pro-peace government is the United States government and the small Hungary in Europe anyway. All the other governments prefer to continue the war because many of them think that Ukraine can win on the front line, which is a misunderstanding of the situation. So it's a complicated issue. We will discuss it. It requests not just 2 minutes to respond to your question, but rather than our lecture. Sorry, not to continue more than that.
To both of you.
So you would say that Ukraine cannot win that war?
Miracle can happen.
Yeah, that's right.
Mr. President,
Thank you, Mr. President. What is your message to the EU? Because from Hungary and the EU want to impose their woke policies on Hungary. What is your message?
Well, I think they should respect Hungary and respect this leader very, very strongly because he's been right on immigration. Look what's happened to Europe with the immigration. They have people flooding Europe all over the place, and it's hurting it. It's the crime rates are way up. A lot of bad things are happening. His crime rates are very low. They're the same as they always were, which is very little crime because he's kept it the way it should be. Europe, I don't want to go into individual countries. They're all friends of mine, everyone. As you know, in NATO, they voted to go from 2% to 5%, and that nobody thought that was possible. And we had just about almost, other than Spain, a unanimous vote. No, I think that I think they respect him a lot. They don't agree with him, but actually, inwardly, I think they probably do agree. He was right on immigration. They were wrong. They are flooding Europe with people from all over the world, and Europe is becoming a different place. And I tell the leaders all the time, you better stop or you're not going to have Europe anymore. It's a very dangerous thing they're doing.
May I have a reflection on that? So on migration issue, just for clarification, in Hungary, the number of illegal migration is like that, zero. Because we have a crystal clear system. If somebody would like to come to Hungary, first he should ask for that. If we give the permission, they can step in. Nobody can step on the territory of Hungary without having a permission from the Hungarian authorities. This is the regulation, simple, well working. What is the consequence of that? We are under sanctions, financial sanctions of European Union, because we don't let the illegal migrations to come to Hungary and to the European Union as well. So we have to pay, just to inform you, we have to pay every day 1 million euro as a punishment to the Brazilian budget, because we stop the migrants. This is the absurd world we are living now in Europe.
Mr. President, to both of you.
Go ahead, please.
Jill,
Yes,
thank
go
you
ahead.
so much. Thank you. I'd like to ask what do you think, what do you believe after this meeting? Can you have maybe, or the European Union will have another opinion about, just because of this penalty, another opinion about Hungary because of the immigration and because of this kind of politics, which is not that strictly as the European Union directs. What do you believe?
Yeah, where are you from?
I'm from Hungary.
Okay. I do have that conversation with them, and I respect and like them. They're all friends of mine. I think pretty much every single leader in Europe is a friend of mine. We get along really well. They've done everything I've asked them to do with NATO, etc. The only thing they continue to do is buy oil from Russia. That's not too good. But I told them they should respect this man. They can also learn from Victor. Victor has had a very hard stance on, more than anything else, immigration or even illegal immigration. He literally has accepted no one over the years. Think of how much greater these countries would be if they didn't have the tremendous crime that has come in with the immigration. People just flowing into Europe. They've got to stop it. And not only stop it, they have to reverse it. They have to get them out. We've done that here. We have 0 people coming in now. The borders are closed. We take people, but we take them legally. But we've done it very strongly, and we're moving hundreds of thousands, millions of people out. We had, of the 20 million people, 25 million, nobody knows even what the number is. They never knew. Biden had no idea. He had no idea. I don't believe he had any idea what was happening, because he wasn't about open borders. But we had open borders, and we had millions of people come in, and they were coming in from jails. They were coming in from mental institutions. They were coming in as drug dealers. We had 11,888 murderers. Half of them committed more than one murder. We're getting them all out. We're getting them out. He doesn't have that problem. But Europe does have that problem. Other parts of Europe have that problem. So, I tell them all the time, I stick up for Viktor Orban. Not a lot of people do, because in many cases they're jealous. They wish they did what he did. They would have no problems if they did what he did. And I have a bigger heart than anybody, but, they've destroyed some of those countries. Some of those countries had no crime 10 years ago, and now they have quite a bit of crime. And I would say that I don't know anything about your crime levels, but I would imagine they're very low.
Down.
Huh?
Very
Not
down.
too high, right?
No, it's very down. One of the best in Europe.
I had a feeling.
Sorry, may I have one remark?
Sure, please.
No. Just a clarification as well. I'm not here to ask how President Trump to manage my conflicts or our conflicts with the European Union. This is our matter, so we will do it. What we need is a golden age, to open a golden age of the United States-Hungarian relationship. That's the biggest help we can get from United States.
And maybe Europe too. We can include Europe, but it's going to get more difficult.
So inside the European Union, we will manage all of our affairs. To be the most possible humble guy, yeah? But I'm the longest-serving Prime Minister of Europe. I survived all the Prime Ministers who attacked us. And I'm sure we will survive next years as well. So we will manage our conflicts successfully.
Mr. President,
one question for you, Mr. President, one question for the Prime Minister. Speaking of Europe, last month you said that you would not withdraw U.S. troops from Europe, yet 2 weeks later the Pentagon decided to withdraw significant number of troops from Romania. So have you changed your mind, or the Pentagon ignored your assurance?
No, they don't ignore anything that I say. What they do is we make changes. We move. It's the same number, total number, but we move people around. I happen to like the Romanian people. I think they're great people. And Pete, you may want to suggest something right there, please.
Absolutely. No, nothing was uncoordinated with the White House. It's all part of the view that we have of Europe, and there will remain troops in Romania, but there's some change in how we rotate and how many we rotate.
And the relationship with Romania is very good, right?
It's very good, and we've coordinated all this with Secretary General Ruta, with throughout EUCOM, throughout our allies. Everyone was notified in advance.
The relationship with Romania is very good. The relationship with Europe is very good. I disagree with what Europe is doing having to do with immigration, but I agree with them on many other subjects. We just signed the biggest trade deal ever made with Europe, $950 billion. We were able to do it because of tariffs. It was a deal that was good, very good, but we had a very unfair deal. We were treated very badly before I came into office, but we just signed. It's the single biggest trade deal ever signed. So we have a very good relationship with Europe. Yeah.
What is the main dispute with the Russians which prevent the Budapest summit with Putin from taking place?
The basic dispute is they just don't want to stop yet. And I think they will. I think it's taken a big toll on Russia, a big toll on both countries, obviously, but it's taken a big toll. They're losing 7,000 soldiers a week. That's a big toll. And between the two of them, divided, with Russia losing more soldiers, actually. But they're both losing a lot of people. And that's the primary thing that, with me, it's not economic. It's not money. In fact, we don't spend any money. We send it to NATO. They pay us for our missiles and for our military and everything else. We don't. It's not a question of money. It was with Biden. He spent $350 billion. He got nothing for it. The war would have never happened. If I were president, the war would have never happened. I think you would agree with that. This war would never have happened if I were president. It's stupid that it happened. But it did happen. I inherited the war, and I think we're going to get it ended. Not too distant future.
Mr. President.
Yes, please.
So no question that if that time the name of the United States president would have been Donald Trump, there would be no war between Ukraine and Russia. That's clear. But what we are speaking about here is more than that, because without the pressure coming from the United States government, I'm speaking 2022, the Europeans would not take that hard line what they have today on the war. Remember that big countries of Europe rejected to be involved more than just sending some, humanitarian issues. So the pressure coming from the United States to be more pro-war in Europe. So that's the fact of the history anyway. So we have to restore something which was ruined and created from here, and that's the reason why I understand absolutely the devotion of the president now to do everything to stop the war, because that would be not that deep without the previous government pressure from here. So the reason why I'm here to be as much as helpful I can to contribute to the peace efforts of the president, because that was an enormous mistake what we have done, the Western world several years ago, and we have to stop it, and it's common responsibility.
Biden actually pushed for that war to happen. Okay, if you can believe it. Nobody can believe it, but it's one of those things. And now look what happened. Look what's happened to Ukraine. It's a much smaller country. A lot of people are dead. You take a look at it's a whole different world over there, and Russia has not been helped very much by that war either. They lost a tremendous number of soldiers and people. Look, that war should have been a 1 week war. I don't know why it's taken. This is 4 years. Should have been 1 week. Should have been over with, but it would have never started. Should have never started. And I would have solved the problem without giving up anything. Ukraine would have remained as is. So there were tremendous mistakes long before I got there. I inherited that mess, and we're getting it solved, along with the 8 wars that we've already ended.
Mr. President,
what is our interest cultivating better relations with the EU leader or not?
I think I can do both. There's no reason why I can't. I get along well with the European nations.
We are still a member of the European Union, so it's easy.
Yeah, and by the way, he's a member in good standing, I guess, although they penalize him every once in a while. But he's a member in good standing with the European Union, so he's a member. He's a part of it. But I get along great with him, and I get along very well with them. I agree with him on immigration much more than I agree with them, but I agree with a lot of the things in Europe he also agrees with. But he had a difference, I would say, primarily on immigration more than anything else. And I happen to think he was right because their whole fabric has changed. I mean, you go to some of the countries, they're unrecognizable now because of what they've done. And Hungary is very recognizable. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. President. Will there be a peace summit in Budapest still this year? What do you think?
You mean a meeting with President Putin?
Yes.
You mean in Hungary? Well, I'd like to keep it in Hungary, in Budapest. That meeting, it turned out I didn't want to do that meeting because I didn't think anything was going to be happening of significance. But if we have it, I'd like to do it in Budapest. Yeah, it'd be good.
Mr. President, you said many times to support Viktor Orban. Why is it important to win the next election, for example, for the United States, Hungary, and also Europe? Why is it important?
Well, I don't know his opponent. I don't know if he has an opponent yet. At some point he will, I guess. You know, we always have opponents,
always.
right? Not much of an opponent. But I'll be supportive of him. He's done a fantastic job. We've had a great relationship. The United States, look, we had a country that had no leader. It had an auto pen, illegal auto pen, totally illegal. And that's coming out stronger and stronger. But we had no leader in the United States. I mean, Hungary, as an example, had no relationship with the United States, even though we do, billions of dollars in trade with Hungary. Yeah. Hungary's a big country economically. We do, billions of dollars in trade with Hungary. Why would they give that up? And they gave up so much else. Look, they gave up everything. This country was poorly run. I think if I didn't win the election, we might not have a country, if you want to know the truth. Not a recognizable country. But our relationship was immediately good as soon as I won the election because Victor's one of the people that's highly respected, and we had a great relationship with Hungary. We do again. That was an easy one. Yeah.
Do you and Prime Minister Orban agree on ways to put pressure on President Putin to come to the negotiating table to end the war in Ukraine?
I think we agree that the war is going to end. Sometimes people have to fight it out a little bit longer, but I think we agree that the war is going to end in the not too distant future. Do you want to talk about that, Victor?
I have some ideas, and I will present it to the president. How to stop it.
Mr. Prime Minister.
Mr. President, since you brought up the Walmart Thanksgiving meal, and it is cheaper, but it also contains less. As affordability,
well, I haven't heard that. You're telling me. Who are you with? Who are you with?
I'm with NBC News, sir.
Fake news. NBC. You're fake news. What a NBC's gone down the tubes along with most of the rest of them.
If I ask, why do you think there's such a disconnect between the economy that you're describing day to day and the way many Americans say they're feeling and they're concerned about?
Well, they feel better about our country right now, other than the shutdown, obviously, which is caused by the Democrats, could be ended by the Democrats in 2 minutes. They feel much better. We have more jobs. We just set a record on jobs. You do know that. We have more investment in our country than any country in history. We're over $18 trillion as of this moment, and we're going to be maybe at 20 or 21 trillion by the time I finish up my first year. And there's been no country, China, no country in the world that's done anywhere even close to that number. Your friend Biden, as an example, in 4 years was less than $1 trillion. We'll be at 21 trillion in 1 year. So there's no country that was even close to that, and our country was a laughingstock all over the world. We have more jobs, we have more potential than any other country, and frankly, we're the hottest country right now. Victor said to me before, we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. Think of it. We'll have $21 trillion invested. We have auto plants pouring back in. We have AI pouring back in. We're leading China in AI by a lot. We're leading everybody in every category. There's no category that we're in second place. So I just heard this yesterday that Walmart said that the Thanksgiving was 25% more expensive under Biden. That's a big, to me, that's a big number because Walmart's respected. I mean, Walmart is Walmart, and, they're giving you prices. So that would mean that the whole series of pricing and costs, the groceries and everything else, it was a con job. It was a con job. Affordability, they call it, was a con job by the Democrats. The Democrats are good at a few things, cheating on elections and conning people with facts that aren't true. it was 25%. Walmart just announced it 2 days ago. 25% cheaper this year will be cheaper to have Thanksgiving than it was a year ago under Sleepy Joe Biden.
You say that affordability is a con job, as you put it.
Say it.
You said affordability was a con job, and you didn't want to. You said last night you didn't want to talk about affordability.
I talked about it. When did I not want to talk about it? I talk about it all the time. We are much better than Biden and all of them. Now, just so you understand, do you remember that the Biden administration had the highest inflation in 48 years, but most people say ever recorded? Do you remember that? Right? Do you remember it? Did they have the highest inflation in 48 years? Did they? Just answer me the question. You know the answer. The answer is yes. They had the worst inflation in 48 years. We have almost no inflation. We're down now to 2%, and we'll be at maybe 1%. You want to always stay above 1%, actually. You want a little tiny bit of inflation. We're at a perfect number. They were at the highest level in recorded history, okay? And when you talk about affordability, that one fact. Now, let's talk about the second biggest subject after inflation, energy. We're going to be at $2 gasoline. We're going to be approximately $2 very soon. We're a little bit above $2 right now for gasoline. Now, under Biden, it was $4.50. It even hit $5, but it was $4, $3.50. We're going to be at $2 a gallon. So gasoline's much less. Energy costs are less. When you have energy and when you have gasoline less, everything else follows. It's such a big category. So when you have lower energy prices, which I think you admit we do substantially, that means everything else. So we are the victors on affordability. But if I watched that election, which I was not much involved in, I didn't support Virginia, the candidate, didn't do a lot of support for the other candidates. They asked me about Cuomo, and I said, well, it's a question, do you want a thug or do you want a communist? I mean, that was my response. So I wasn't involved in that stuff too much. But I will say this, if you look at affordability, which they campaigned on, they lied because they talked about, oh, prices are up. No, prices are down under the Trump administration, and they're down substantially. Energy prices are down by 30, 35, 40%. Gasoline is way down. And the other big thing is inflation is way down. The biggest thing is inflation. The second biggest thing is energy. Energy is way down. And what's also down? Gasoline. Also, the biggest thing is inflation, and it's way down. We took over a mess, the highest inflation in recorded history. Some people would say 48 years. I'll take either one of them. But I believe it's the highest inflation in recorded history. That alone makes it impossible for them to have done a good job affordability-wise. So one other thing. When I came into office, Victor, 2 days into office, they were screaming at me about the cost of eggs. I was there for 2 days. Eggs had quadrupled. And I said, listen, I just got here. Let me check it out. And they were right. Eggs had gone up by 3-4 times. Within a period of a few months, we had eggs down to a normal cost. We did a great job on groceries and affordability. The only problem is the fake news. You people don't want to report it. And in fact, I'd like to ask Caroline. Where's Caroline? I'd like to ask Caroline a question. Where is she? Did she? Uh-oh. She deserted us. She deserted me. Our great Caroline superstar deserted me. Anyway. She's right outside. She was going to talk about, because the fake news yesterday, they talked about that. They said, oh, I don't want to talk about affordability. The reason I don't want to talk about affordability is because everybody knows that it's far less expensive under Trump than it was under Sleepy Joe Biden. And the price.
Now, this is pretty good. Watch what happens here with Caroline Levitt. So he just set the stage for her about how the media doesn't want to talk about affordability under President Trump. And it's not just the media. People on X and Facebook, they don't want to talk about affordability. People don't talk about the good stuff. People like to complain. They'll amplify misery and they'll downplay success. That's just the way it is. I mean, you see it sometimes in the chat here. It's interesting. I was just talking about how I'm going to help somebody buy a house, and people are like, no, I don't want none of that. But I didn't see one single comment, not one, where somebody says, I don't need it, I don't want it, I'd like you to help my son, my daughter, my nephew. Just saying.
Is it way down, Caroline?
Yes, sir.
Could you discuss that question that was asked and how it was asked in such a fake, disgusting manner by the fake news?
Yeah, and I just saw it asked again here, and it's very unfortunate that the reporters in this room refuse to address, sir, what you just said, which is that you inherited the worst inflation crisis in modern American history, and you are fixing it in 10 short months, and your entire administration has been tasked with this effort, from Treasury Department to Agriculture Department to the National Economic Council right here at the White House. They are slashing regulation. He signed the largest middle-class tax cut in 6 months. In 6 months, in record time, putting more money back into the American people's pockets. So affordability is what the American people elected this president to do, and he is doing it, and you guys refuse to cover it, and you refuse to cover that the previous administration created the worst unaffordability crisis in American history. And I've been watching the TV all day saying that he doesn't want to talk about affordability. That's what he's working on every day, and that's what this administration is doing.
Right, but you know why they refuse to cover it?
Can I
because they're fake news, that's why. Go ahead.
Can I get her someone?
Sure. Caroline, the Prime Minister would like you to work for him in Hungary.
Please consider.
You know what? That's a very good decision you just made. Please don't leave us, Caroline. Yeah, please.
You spoke to Republican senators. They do not seem interested right now in getting rid of the filibuster.
That's too bad. They're making a big mistake. That's right. No, but they're coming my way. You're right. Wait a minute. The way to do it for the Republicans is to terminate the filibuster. They call it the nuclear option. This is the second form of nuclear. Very good, very good. This is a good form. This is not a bad form. I would have been in favor of that a long time ago. But you know the Democrats are going to do that. And most of you will admit the Democrats are going to do that. So why aren't we doing it? And I think only a foolish person would be against that, especially when you realize that these are crazed people. These people are absolutely crazed, Trump derangement syndrome, whatever it may be. And I am totally in favor of terminating the filibuster. And we would be back to work within 10 minutes after that vote took place, and lots of other good things would happen. And it doesn't make any sense that a Republican would not want to do that.
If they're not going to do that, then it seems like you'd have to make a deal with Democrats to end the shutdown.
Here's some of the things that we'd pass if we terminated the filibuster. Voter ID, no mail-in voting, no cash bail, no men and women's sports, no welfare for illegals. You could go on and on. This is 2 pages of things we'd do if you did that. Without it, I don't know that you pass anything because you can't deal with them. They're really irrational. They really are. But I was happy to see that a tremendous liability to this country, a woman that made herself rich in this country, Nancy Pelosi, has quit. And she'll be out of here pretty soon. And that I consider that to be a great asset for America, getting her out. Yeah, please go.
Are you really going to deal with Democrats? They're not interested in it.
I don't know. We'll see what they have. I mean, we'll see. But they're very destructive for the country. NBC, fake news. I'm not taking you. Go ahead.
Mr. President, are you worried about it backfiring in the future on Republicans? Should they get rid of the filibuster and then down the road?
Well, normally I would say, well, a little bit. But the reason that I'm not is because if they ever took over power, they'll do it. Look, Joe Manchin and Sinema are 2 people that are no longer in politics because of this issue. They were opposed to what the Democrats wanted to do. They wanted to terminate the filibuster. They were opposed to it. They're no longer in politics. They're gone. The Democrats will do this. So if the Democrats are going to do it, I'm saying Republicans should do it before they get a chance. It's very simple. And if we do it, we will never lose the midterms and we will never lose the general election because we will have produced so many different things for our people, for the country, that it would be impossible to lose an election.
Are you worried about an AI bubble?
No, I love AI. I think it's going to be very helpful. So many things are happening with it. And in addition to which, we're leading China, we're leading the world in AI. We're building massive electric plants that the companies themselves are building for their plant. I've given them the right because we need so much electricity for that. And just the word is electricity, believe it or not. Double the electricity that we currently have in the country for just the AI plants. And I've allowed those companies to rebuild and build electric plants along with their facility. We're getting approvals done in less than a month, sometimes in 2 weeks, for massive, beautiful, massive buildings. And no, I'm totally in favor of it. I think it's really going to be the wave of the future, and we're leading the world. We're leading everybody by a lot.
How long do you think the shutdown will last? President, how long do you think the shutdown will last?
I don't know. It's up to the Democrats. We voted, the Republicans have voted 14 times to open up the country, and the Democrats have voted 14 times to hurt the country, really. They should approve it, but they might not. That's why I like the fact that we terminate the filibuster. If we terminate the filibuster, the country will be open within 10 minutes after that termination, because we'll take a second vote, which is the opening of the country, and the Republicans will vote to open the country. That's one of the reasons, not the major reason, by the way. I think it's less important than the other things that we get. But if we terminate the filibuster, the second vote that we will take will be to open up the country. It'll take 10 minutes, and the country will be open.
Is there any room for bipartisanship? Because it seems like that's the main purpose of the filibuster, is to create some sort of compromise. So
Well, it didn't work, obviously.
So
You're right. That was the purpose of the filibuster, bipartisanship, but that didn't work.
So are you saying the next 3 years in Washington there shouldn't be?
Well, no. If the filibuster is terminated, we will have the most productive 3 years in the history of our country. If the filibuster is not terminated, then we will be in a slog with the Democrats, and very little for either party will be done. So it's a good thing. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, so he wants this thing done. Here's what the problem is. As of 1 o'clock today, here was a list of the 24 Republican senators who are a no on ending the filibuster. And as you can see their pictures here, Mitch McConnell, Shelley Capito, Murkowski, Rand Paul, the usual suspects, Susan Collins, Tom Cotton, what a disappointment he is, and Chuck Grassley, Joni Ernst, who else is in here? Rick Scott from Florida, Tom Tillis, of course, Thune, Todd Young, John Kennedy from Louisiana, and Langford from Oklahoma. These people do not want President Trump to break the filibuster. Why? I can't figure it out. So President Trump, knowing this, posted this, at 4:30, so an hour ago, this went up. And it says, the United States Senate should not leave town until they have a deal to end the Democrat shutdown. If they can't reach a deal, the Republicans should terminate the filibuster immediately and take care of our great American workers. I don't think anybody can argue at this point that he has given them as much opportunity as possible. He has probably posted 10 or 15 times over the last week, you got to end this. He had this big interview with Viktor Orban. We got to end it. He keeps telling them this is what we have to do. There is no other reason not to. And the press is like, well, shouldn't it be bipartisan? It ain't working. It is not working. So at some point, if they don't do this, maybe over the weekend, President Trump, I understand he's going to be going to see the Washington Commanders play in the NFL game this weekend. So President Trump's going to an NFL game, going to be a stadium full of people, even though I think the Commanders suck too. Living life. So he's coming all the way down here, and then he's going to go see the Washington Commanders. Very interesting, very interesting. Or is that next week? It might be next week where he goes to that game. In addition, just to bring you up to speed on the SNAP thing, Pam Bondi she filed her immediate stay of Judge McConnell's lawless temporary restraining order yesterday. This is the one where he said basically go find the money to raid school lunch money to instead fund SNAP benefits. That TRO purports to force the government to divert $5 billion from the school lunch program to SNAP by the end of today. So we are past That was one of the reasons why I wanted to wait it till today. We are now past 5 o'clock. I don't know if some of the news people are still there. I don't know but I believe the order said you had to do it by 5 p.m. on Friday. And I don't think SV hasn't hit me up with any notification, so I don't think that happened. I don't think that snapped. I think they told that judge to go pound sand, which is what J.D. Vance told him yesterday. We're not going to do it. He said it straight up. Let me see if there's been any news on it. So now we're at a position where President Trump has told a district court judge in Washington, pound sand. You're not doing it. Now let's see how you react. At this point, they're going to have to do something. And if you're affected by this, I feel bad. But now we're looking at the whole of the country and everything at this point. Some crazy stuff going on. So earlier this afternoon, about 2 o'clock or so, I had an opportunity to talk. What do I got here? No, that's not it either. An opportunity to speak with Kevin from Lear Capital on what's going on in the gold and silver markets, because with all this shutdown stuff, how are we going to be affected with that? So I want you guys to take a listen to this. Everybody's been on the show a number of times, a welcome partner to the Fanfare community. I want to bring on Kevin Demerit, the CEO, or actually the founder of Lear Capital. Kevin, how you doing today?
It's great, Barry. Great to be back with you.
Well, thank you for taking some time on a Friday here to talk about some things. So I'm going to jump right in because I know you're really busy, especially with the financial markets the way they are right now. You see, gold recently had a dip, everybody saw, but it seems to have bounced back from whatever low it was going through. Was it a temporary thing, or what caused that dip?
Yeah, really, I mean, what we've seen lately in gold looks like this classic kind of correction in the middle of this bull market. So I don't really think it's the end of the story. From where I sit, the big drivers, Barry, are huge government debt, record central bank buying. We've got this weak dollar, and then you've got political and geopolitical tensions going on. So I don't think any of those are going away anytime soon, and that's going to be the big drivers.
So it's a temporary pullback. You foresee it bouncing back relatively soon. I know that I saw where Poland now is buying a lot of gold as well. Are the countries still buying gold and silver?
Yeah, central banks are still going at record paces over here. There was an article on, I think it was Wednesday, where BRICS was still on record paces for the year. So all the BRICS countries were still purchasing gold. And based on that, I mean, you see reports out from Bank of America and Goldman Sachs that, still predicting in 2026, $5,000 gold. So I don't think that really the thesis of why the gold market's going up has changed at all.
Wow. 5,000-6,000. That would be incredible. So do me a favor, with all the stuff happening with the Federal Reserve, a lot of people don't understand what is the relationship to gold and silver with the Treasury yield.
Well, when we talk about Treasury yields, we're usually talking about the 10-year. What we're really talking about is the opportunity cost of holding something like gold that does not pay interest compared to something that does pay interest. So what really matters is what we call the real yield. What's the difference between what the inflation rate is and what the rate that you're going to get paid on most interest-bearing, risk-free interest-bearing investments like a government treasury? So when you have a very small real yield or no real yield at all, why would you hold a treasury bill if the inflation rate's running at the same pace by the time you pay taxes and so on and so forth? You're making 0.5% or you're losing 1% with higher inflation. So gold has kind of an inverse relationship with higher or low interest rates with a low real yield. That's what really matters here. So the government can lower the interest rates, and it just makes gold a lot more attractive because, hey, if I'm lowering interest rates and closer to what the rate of inflation is running, then I have no real return. Let me go out and get an investment that doesn't pay interest but has the potential to go up in value.
Okay.
So that's kind of the basics of how the gold is offset from real low real interest rates.
Is there a specific indicator or lever? Like I've heard some people say 4%, 5% in terms of the yield. If they drop below that, that makes the metals more valuable?
Not really, because if you think about it, if you go all the way back to the 1970s, if you had a 4% treasury yield inflation was running 15%, you were losing 11%.
Wow.
It's not so much the actual yield on the 10-year, it's what the rate of inflation is compared to what the rate of the 10-year is. And what people are saying now is if the 10-year gets down below 4%, inflation's running 3.5%, you've got a 0.5%, you pay tax on it, your real yield is zero.
Wow.
So if we look at non-interest bearing investments, then you're going to go more that direction because typically the rate of appreciation on gold is going to be higher than 4%. It has since 2020 or the year 2000. So I don't think that's going to change.
Okay. And you're talking to a lot of clients, both internationally and domestic. What kind of effect, if any, has the shutdown had on gold and silver?
You know, as soon as the government shutdown kicked in, we saw gold kind of surge to these record highs. So I think initially it had a big increase. So we saw it go over $4,000 an ounce. Silver actually outperformed on the way up. So it had a bigger and a stronger move. What's unusual this time around, I think the shutdown is also freezing a lot of key indicators. So it's hard to kind of look and say, hey, is unemployment up? Is it down? Is inflation up or down? Because I can't see any numbers that the government, really puts out. So I think if the shutdown continues into 2026, and it could, you could see a lot of safe haven demand because I think there's going to be a lot of head scratching about, well, when is this thing really going to start picking back up here? And we got to kind of run the government for a lot of other services that are important. But for long-term savers, I think the real big story here is that this is all happening with the backdrop of over $38 trillion in debt, record interest costs. I mean, we're borrowing money to pay interest costs. So I think this doesn't have anything to do long-term with gold. Short-term, you might, see some fluctuations, and when they open back up, maybe you get a little correction. But I think long-term, the more important things are $38 trillion in debt and some of the other, bigger issues that we have going on in this country.
You said something while you were talking there that you think that and I've heard other people say it as well, that this could indeed continue into 2026 past the holidays. Are you hearing that from people?
Yeah, we are. I mean, nobody seems to want to budge too much on a lot of the important issues. And, we've just created this big divide between Republicans and Democrats. Nobody wants to give anything, to look weak. So could it go on? Absolutely. And I think especially if, the Superior Court or the Supreme Court says, hey, look, these tariffs or some of them or all of them we just can't do them. We got to pay back the money. I think that will actually drag out the government shutdown even further because, Republicans are going to get ticked off and the Democrats are going to say, yeah, hey, we told you so. And, God only knows what that ends up looking like for a government shutdown.
How do you think it's affecting people overall? You see a lot of stuff on X where people are saying there's a class divide. You deal obviously with a lot of people who have a lot of money, but you also deal with people who are just learning and getting in. Overall, how do you see it affecting the average person?
Well, I mean, geez, if you're getting any kind of a government check or you work for the government, which is usually an average person, you got some problems. I think it's affecting everybody because, look, I rely on information that the government puts out on a weekly basis, and I have no visibility at all. There's no visibility. I can't tell you if Amazon laying off the 15,000 workers, somebody else picked up 15,000 workers or not. I just, we have some independent private numbers coming out, but it's not that helpful. Manufacturing numbers and things like that, zero visibility. So you could wake up and they get all the numbers ready, and it could affect a lot of people because if the numbers are skewed one way or another, it could substantially affect the stock market. It could substantially affect what businesses do, GE or, a lot of the big companies that employ a lot of people. What is the expectation of consumer spending going forward? So it's much bigger than I think people realize, because when you have good numbers coming out, I can plan a business. When I don't have good numbers coming out, it's very hard to plan a business long term.
Wow, wow. So how are you, you mentioned some private data services. What kind of indicators, without having the government information, what kind of indicators are you looking at that tell you to pull which lever?
Yeah. I mean, we look at the private numbers out of, ADP. So we kind of look at some of those numbers and say, all right, their numbers sometimes are a little bit different than the government's numbers, but they're close enough that you can get some sort of an indication. And one thing we look at that you're probably going to laugh at is cardboard boxes.
I was talking about that yesterday. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really unbelievable indicator because I think there's 4 cardboard boxes in front of my door every day from Amazon. My kids and wife just keep ordering. So when you're looking at cardboard boxes, almost everything's delivered in a cardboard box in some way or another. So if you see cardboard box production starting to pull back, usually you get a pretty good indication on where, potentially the economy's going. So we've been using cardboard boxes for the last couple of weeks, and it still looks fairly strong, but again, we're starting to get into the holiday season, so usually you start to see, bigger demand around this time of year anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Now, with the shutdown continuing and the possibility of the tariffs being ruled unconstitutional, is it benefit one of the metals over the other, or it will affect both gold and silver?
Yeah, I think, silver might get if we saw a pullback in gold, silver might pull back a little bit more. Just because it went up faster in the last couple of months, it might pull back a little bit more. But again, I think the long term, with everybody projecting, gold at much higher prices than what we're seeing today, and the reasons why they're saying that, $1 trillion in interest payments, $38 trillion debt that looks like it's going to go to 40 trillion possibly by the end of next year. When you add up all of those things and record buying from central banks, I think the long-term picture still looks okay, and these pullbacks are just great times to potentially buy in. And I know, hey, I'm in the market, so what else am I going to say? Probably people ask. But look, our newsletters come out and we tell people, look, silver looks overvalued at, $49 last time it hit that number, and you should take some profits off the table. If your percentage in precious metals was 15 or 10 or 20%, and the metals have doubled, your percentages have probably doubled, you should probably pull back. So we tell people that as well. And I believe that if Goldman Sachs, which really, they don't care about gold and silver, it's a very small portion of their business. But when they tell you it's going to go to 5,000, usually they're the most conservative people out there. When they said it was going to go to 3,000 last, it went to 3,500 almost overnight. And so if they're saying it's going over, up to 5,000 for possibly 2026, I would tend to believe and I'd be a buyer on dips.
Yeah, great. Conversely, this thing ends and it doesn't go into 26. They go back to work, whatever concessions, whatever deals they end up happening. How do you see the market rebounding overall once that happens, especially if we're lucky enough to see it during the holiday season?
You're talking about gold or silver, or
the
stock market's coming down now? Yeah. Look, I think this is more of a long-term picture. I don't think a government shutdown, today and it lasts for 3 months, even if it lasts for 4 months, and all of a sudden they get back to work. That's not the driver. It's not going to be the driver of the stock market either. If I sat here and waited around for the government to shut down and then go back to business so I could make money, I mean, that's going to be a very tough way of, really trying to figure out how to make money. So I don't really like to look at the short term on these, Barry. We tend to look at what are the real driving factors, regardless of what something is happening that I can't really control. I can't control if the government's on or off, but I can't really control if a mine is making gold either. But I can look at the trends and I can see that the trends are fairly stable, and I can get reliable information out of those. So if central banks are buying, if consumers are buying, if institutions are buying, and they're buying at record paces, and I understand the reasons why they're doing that, for all the reasons we already brought up, then I'm pretty sure that over the next year, I'm going to have a higher price of gold next year than I am today. Okay. What that price is, I can't tell you if it's going to be 5,000 or 5,500, but it's probably a higher price than today. And again, then go buy some of the dips to try to get in at a better possible price.
Yeah, that's a good. I like that. Let me ask you a question. Why do you think the story about the the verifying of gold in Fort Knox just it appeared and then it disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, we actually covered this pretty closely at Lear Capital, and earlier this year there was, like you're bringing up, there was a flurry of headlines about, hey, we're going to go look at this, and Elon Musk and Ron Paul were starting to push, for a serious audit, and nothing happened.
Right.
And it looked like the story did what a lot of these stories do, in today's news cycle. It just got crowded out with the next controversy. What didn't go away is the underlying issue, which is we still haven't had an independent audit of these reserves since the 1950s. I can't tell you why they don't want to do it. I really can't. I don't know if the gold's there or not. And, there's probably a handful of people that do.
Wow.
But I have no idea why they don't want to go in there and actually verify. You've got to verify a couple of things. Is the gold there?
Mm-hmm.
How much did we lend out potentially? And is the quality of the gold the quality that we believe that it is?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to send in an assayer to say, hey, I can see a bunch of bars, but this happened over in China. The Australian men sent a bunch of gold over to China, and China then, after 2 years, assayed the gold and said, hey, something went wrong. And there was a less quality of gold. It was supposed to be 4/9 gold. It turned out to be something less.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like them to audit two things. Are the ounces there? Mm-hmm. Is the quality of the ounces what we thought? Right? If you go from 9.49s to 80% gold, there's a heck of a lot. There's 20% less gold there.
Right.
So you need to audit those two things, in my opinion.
Well, and if they were to audit it and it wasn't there, I would think that would make the price kind of shoot up, right?
Oh, it would skyrocket.
Yeah.
You just put your full faith and trust in the government, and we're supposed to have that same full faith and trust in a dollar.
Yeah.
And all of this gold is supposed to be in Fort Knox. If it's not there, the gold market absolutely skyrockets.
Yeah.
The value of the dollar probably falls off a cliff, because who's going to now trust? If you can't trust the gold, you can't. Well, how am I supposed to trust my dollar? You guys just don't care. So I think a lot of countries out there.
That might be the answer to the question, Kevin.
Reserve.
Kevin, that might be the answer to the question as to why they haven't said anything more about it. Because if with your knowledge, you say that it would absolutely do that, that's probably like, we just need to back off of this and not bring it up again for a while. So Xi Jinping came to the White House. He met with President Trump. They haven't announced a solid deal yet. But when they do announce a solid deal, what do you think the effect of that would be on gold and silver?
Well, I think whenever Washington and Beijing move toward a deal or a tariff truce, you're probably going to see risk off, and the gold market might pull back a little bit. But, and I'm going to sound like a broken record here, these wins are all short-term wins. They have nothing to do with the long-term why gold is going up. They might have something to do with the stock market, because companies need to sell products, and if you can sell them for less money than the 10% tariff that's on top of everything, then maybe people buy more, products. So I could see that. But for, again, all of the reasons that gold is going up have nothing to do with, if there's a tariff truce or not. They're not going to pay down the debt from 38 trillion back to 8 trillion that we had in 2008. That isn't going to happen. The $1 trillion in interest payments that we have to make for that and borrow the money to do that isn't going to change.
Right.
Central banks around the world want to get rid of the dollars. They're continuing to do that. That's a trend that's happened for the last 3 years. That isn't going to change. So I think the things that are going to be detrimental to the gold market would be the government balances the budget, pays down some of the debt, central banks around the world stop selling dollars and start buying dollars because they trust our country. The war ends. Those are the things that are going to matter. This truce isn't going to matter.
What about New York? Now that they've elected a socialist up there, I'm sure a lot of your clients are based in New York. Wall Street's based in New York. What kind of tremors are you hearing about that?
Yeah. Not a lot. I mean, I don't think gold cares about these party labels. It cares about, policies, confidence, and math, right?
Mm.
Local elections in New York or Minneapolis by themselves probably don't move the global gold market all that much. I mean, gold trades 23 hours a day, so hey, when it leaves the United States, nobody cares who's in New York. But I think this fits into a broader picture of this political polarization and growing appetite for these more activist type government situations, and I think ultimately that could affect something where this guy wants to increase a bunch of taxes on what he calls rich people in New York. And if that filters into, the federal government, when they said, hey, you know what, we've got to raise taxes, we've got to cover more of these bills and the interest payments and all those kinds of things, that's going to be a bigger impact. But I'm not quite sure, these two knuckleheads are going to do too much to the gold market at this particular time.
From talking to you for a number of times now and understanding more about the gold market, what you said today is, I think I have to underscore, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. You're not doing gold and silver to amplify a whole bunch of money. It's more of a hedge and protection and a part of diversification. And to that end, you mentioned somebody else. What is the percentage that you should allocate or you recommend allocating into metals versus stocks and cash and other things?
It really depends on what's happening with the economy and where you are in life. If you're 25 years old, maybe it's 5%. You don't need as much diversification. You can take much more risk.
Mm-hmm.
If you start getting a little older and you want to protect your retirement accounts and possible fluctuation in the stock market that we're seeing now, and quite frankly, probably, in my personal opinion, can get much worse in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what you want to do, then you can go all the way up to 10 and 15%, maybe even 20%. Just depends on what your portfolio looks like. I mean, when you retire, typically you need some income, and gold doesn't provide the income. If you're still in some stocks, then you want to protect a little bit more. If you have all income producing type of investments, maybe protect a little bit less, and it's 10%. But somewhere between 10 and 20%, if you're getting up in age and want to retire and protect that retirement, in this market, that's where you should be. And as we see the stock market come down like we did in 2008, I don't know if it's going to be that kind of a correction in the next recession, but if it starts to come down, then the precious metals are going to go up, and you want to reduce that percentage back down to your 10% and use that money that you've made to then go back and buy gold or stocks at those low prices or bonds at those low prices. So that's what people have to think about the gold. I think people say, hey, what do I do with it? I just sit here and I hold it. No, if you've purchased it and stocks are low and it protected you against that correction, gold's typically much higher. Take the money and go buy low stock price, stock values. That's what you should do. Or real estate or whatever it is that you invest in. That's the offset that you get. I mean, we had enormous amounts of real estate investors, Barry, I know you're a big real estate investor, that were happy for two reasons. Number one, they didn't have any liquidity because the banks weren't lending in 2008. So they used their gold to make sure they could pay the mortgages when people weren't paying, and so on and so forth. And number two, the guys that had the buildings and the people were making their payments for rent and all those kinds of leases, they saw opportunities in the real estate market to buy real estate at really depressed prices in 2009 and 2010, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Those were fantastic. So we're getting all those people back in right now. They're saying, hey, I want to go own more gold. Now my real estate prices are coming back up. It looks like the stock market might be overvalued. It looks like there could possibly be a recession. And that gave them the liquidity. So for a real estate investor, it had less to do with diversification. Well, diversification, yes, but it had a lot to do with liquidity that dries up in recessions in the real estate market. And you can take advantage of that by either making sure you have liquidity to pay the mortgage or going out and buying, lower valued real estate. It's going to be the same in the stock market.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so don't want to keep too much more longer. I'm going to put up, you can see on the screen, I'm going to put you up split screen so people can get a hold of you directly and call Lear Capital. Kevin, many people here in Fanfare have reached out to you. What do they need to do if they want to get into the gold or silver market?
Yeah, the first thing is just get some education. We've got a lot of free information. I would highly recommend, before making the purchase, just get the information, read through it, get your questions answered, see if it's right for you, and then make your decision from there. I mean, we have so much free information and then a lot of articles and special reports on our website and so on and so forth people can go to. Start there. What I will say, if you're interested at all in doing something, then either go to learberry.com or call the 800 number, because for every person who requests information through the number or learberry.com, we place $500 into their account as a credit. And you can use that credit for the shipping and insurance. Precious metals are expensive. We need to get them insured and shipped to you. You can use it against that, or you can use it against your IRA fees if you wanted to move a portion of your IRA over to a physical gold and silver IRA. We'll cover all the fees with the $500 that we'll put into the account. So, call and get that, because that credit will stay into your account for a year, and you've got that time to figure out if you'd like to come into the market. Not that you should wait a year, but we put it in there for a year.
All right, Kevin, thank you very much for everything. Once again, a lot of great information people can actually take some action on. Don't just sit back and listen to an interview and then do nothing. The reports don't cost you a dime, so you can just go on the website and grab the reports. And then if you have questions, you can contact somebody. The old question we always get is there's a minimum. If Kevin, if you want to address that before you go, I should make a tape. I should make a recording, so when we get to the part where it's like, how much do I have to buy? I can just click a button so you don't have to waste your time. But if you would indulge me, what's the minimum buy that people need if they call versus go to the website?
Yep, you go to the website. Anything less than 5,000, you can go to the website. Anything over 5,000, give us a phone call, and we'll help you, with that transaction.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Yeah, great to see you, Barry.
It's genius. It's pure genius. America is the country that started the AI race. And as President of the United States, I'm here today to declare that America is going to win it. We're going to work hard. We're going to win it.
Why do so many financial experts call silver the most undervalued asset today? Because silver is essential to the future, from solar tech and electric vehicles to the explosive growth of artificial intelligence. Demand is rising fast, and yet silver is still trading at a bargain. With billions pouring into AI, silver prices have only one place to go, and that's up. In fact, silver may be the most overlooked asset class in financial planning. The opportunity for silver is well documented. The market for silver could double or even triple by 2026. You see, I believe in hard assets like this bar of silver. You can hold it in your hand, you can put it in your IRA, you can put it in your home safe, and relative to gold, it's very affordable. That's why I urge you to call my friends at Lear Capital and get their free report, The AI Revolution, and see why silver prices could be set to soar. Call 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. But don't wait. We all know. We've seen it. The government can print lots and lots of dollars, but they can't print silver. All right, so before I go to Super Chats, I did want to show you this thing here. This came out. We already heard that President Trump said no. We heard that John Thune said no. And it looks as though Mike Johnson has said no as well. Chuck Schumer's one-year Obamacare subsidy extension to reopen the government is DOA in the House. So it is not going to happen. It is 6:30 on the East Coast. I don't know if the Senate is still there, if they're still working or not. I've been searching around to see if they've been dismissed for the weekend. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I do know that Judge McConnell's not having a good evening. Judge McConnell is the one who said they had to disperse all the SNAP payments by 5 p.m. today. And that didn't happen either. So our government right now is completely dysfunctional. It's absolutely two different sides that are not going to be coming together whatsoever. That's pretty much why I had put up my thumbnail earlier. That was the thumbnail that I used. And that thumbnail, I think, says everything. You're either on one side of that or the other. you're either on the side of chaos or you're on the side of freedom. If you're on the side of chaos, I got nothing for you. Nothing at all. You little socialists and all the people talking about how the American dream is dead, got nothing for you. If you want to be on the side of freedom and opportunity and prosperity, that's what I'm all about. And I will continue to try and bring you guys so much information on prosperity and prove to you that the American dream is not dead, not whatsoever, not even this much. So tomorrow, much to the chagrin of some people who don't want me talking about it, we're going to do a deep dive into some prosperity, into real estate. I'm going to take of course I'm going to take a camera. We take cameras everywhere. I'm going to take my phone with me tomorrow as Beth comes down to look at our recently purchased property and begins doing some things as a project manager, so we can document the whole thing all the way through, so some of you guys can see that side of things as well. So should be fun. Should be fun. And now I got to get out of here because the wife is texting me saying we got to go to dinner. Tilly, hello to all of my Fanfare family and those I don't know. Hello, Tilly. Chapeau. Every time they tax the rich, the middle class ends up paying. They don't care, though, because they've already cashed out by then. Taxing the rich is idiocy at its best. Demon of Cybertron. I can't wait till they get the free housing just to find out that it's not the luxury home they always wanted. Hope they enjoy living in the projects. And Tinley says, I talked with Lear 2 days ago to start learning about gold. Told them I'm just new undergrad, curious about securing my future. Very, very, very good. There's never too late to start. Doesn't matter how old you are. It's never too late to start. All right, guys, I will see, and ladies, I will see you tomorrow at some time when we get back from looking at the house and doing our work. Should be looking for a fun day. I understand it's supposed to be cold in many parts of the country tonight, so shiver up. Hopefully we don't have any iguanas falling from the trees. That's a phenomenon down here. When it gets cool and it's kind of frosty, for that period of time, the iguanas actually fall out of the trees because they get cold and they fall. They don't die, they just fall onto the grass, and then when the sun comes out, they run around. All right, everybody, talk to you tomorrow. Have a great Friday evening and a safe Friday evening.